Tower Defense X is a pretty fair and balanced game, at least in my opinion. I think I've made my positions on the game quite clear in the past. However, like all tower defense games on the platform, there's always that one tower that's just bad. It's bad for seemingly no reason, and despite everything, it still continues to be garbage, and the developers just seem to do nothing about it. In TDX, that tower is none other than Sniper. Other towers in TDX, such as Mine Layer or Cryo Ranger, may also be in need of a buff, but at least they have something going for them. For Mine Layer, his bottom path is pretty good, and for Cryo Ranger, she's useful on impossible maps and deals ice damage, currently one of the best damage types in the meta. Sniper, however, is a complete failure on all levels, on both paths. He's so horrendously underpowered, he's been ranked dead last by Begoblox, Remy, Rogue Ordinary, and many other content creators who play the game on a high level. He is one of 3 towers in the game that cannot reach 100 DPS, and the other 2 towers that can't reach 100 DPS are Cryo Ranger, who already deals more DPS than he does, and Cryo Blaster. Now, Cryo Blaster may deal even less DPS than Sniper, but he's also the same tower that can do this. Yeah, I wouldn't call this bad. Sniper is just in a league of its own when it comes to being terrible. And in this video, I want to break down exactly why, in a way that's a lot more organized and critical than my last video. Because I actually want to see this piece of trash changed, John. So without further ado, let's jump into exactly why Sniper sucks. First up, let's talk cost. Sniper may not seem like an inherently expensive tower at face value, however, in practice, he really is. His upgrades do not make many substantial changes to his DPS, and are relatively expensive. By the time you can get his X3 or 3X paths, that money would be better spent on other forms of defense, such as operators, barracks, toxinators, and, well, sentry, all of which do significantly more DPS for a fraction of the cost. With Sniper, you've got some crazy upgrades, such as spending 1.25k cash for the damage going up from 12 to 24. What are we doing here? Why is this tower, the tower that you have to be level 15 to unlock, mind you, have worse cost efficiency than Missile Trooper, Barracks, Sentry, and Ranger? Ranger, the starter tower, the guy that you begin the game with, has more cost efficient upgrades, higher DPS than Sniper on both paths, including the incendiary grenade ability and his actual grenade ability. His DPS comes out to 90. I know the wiki only displays it going up to like 63 or whatever, but it's closer to 90 when you factor in his other methods of attack. So why am I paying nearly 10k cash for a tower that's doing 47 DPS at X4? That is just asinine. Next, let's talk about his useless attributes. The only positive thing you can say about this tower is the fact that it can deal with armored enemies on both paths, meaning that in a vacuum, this tower has good coverage. Never mind the fact that you spend abysmal amounts of money to upgrade this guy, but whatever. The top path of Sniper has 2 Pierce and can stealth itself. Now, stealth is unfortunately a pretty useless tool. On Ghost and Helicopter it's fine because A, they have high HP to help them out, and B, they have other mechanics that make them worth getting. The issue with Sniper is that stealth is like the only mechanic top path has to his name, and his health is like piss poor. Seriously, why are Operator, Missile Trooper, and Shotgunner all cheaper and more cost efficient than Sniper, and in addition, they also go well over Sniper in HP. They go up to 1000. In fact, there are only 2 towers in the entire game with less HP than Sniper, and they're both the Ranger towers, aka 2 more towers that are cheaper and have more DPS than Sniper. The Farm has over 1000 HP, and the Scarecrow, well, yes, it's a bait tower, it has less HP than Sniper. I honestly see people bring Scarecrow more than Sniper because at least that tower can actually bait enemy attacks, which prevents them from hitting other things. This tower is just a joke, bro. Pierce is another useless thing that this tower has. Pierce in general makes little to no difference in the TDX meta. When crowds of enemies in the mid to late game look like this, it's not very impressive to hit 2 or 3 enemies at a time. Splash will always be more desirable than piercing, and oh, would you look at that, Missile Trooper deals splash, has more damage, has the same range, higher DPS, and higher HP than top path Sniper. Why would I ever use this? Bottom path is even worse. People love to glaze this guy's range and flare gun ability, but people forget that instead of bringing this garbage tower to reveal stealth enemies for like 12 seconds, they could instead do the following. Boom! I saved you a tower slot. Sniper's range is also very rarely utilized to its full potential. Unless you find this guy some cliff space or play on the high-rise map, his line of sight will be heavily hindered by all obstacles present on larger maps. On smaller maps, he won't even have time to chip down enemies from far range, like I assume he's supposed to be doing, and something like Shotgunner will do a much better job dealing damage and clearing up enemies. He also does laser damage, which is like, yay! Laser damage isn't like crazy special anymore, and this typically won't even be the player's first exposure to the mechanic, as most players will have barracks before they get this tower, which offers the rail troopers. Oh, and by the way, these rail troopers individually deal more DPS than both paths of Sniper. Yeah, just let that sink in. Finally, I want to talk about how Sniper is the one and only level lock tower that is just completely useless to the player before they even unlock them. Heli, Ghost, Slammer, Armored Factory, Mobster, and XWM are all towers that people use at all stages of the game. They're strong, they're unique, they have all these like cool abilities, like with artillery he has like his cool ability, Laser Gunner has cool abilities, Mobster has cool abilities. They all just have something unique to them. Laser Gunner, while he's outclassed by Golden Ranger and Ghost later on, is still a vital stepping stone for new players trying to solo modes like Expert. He's also, you know, a good tower who's able to actually take advantage of his Pierce by dealing good damage, as well as being able to permanently reveal stealth enemies. Yet another example of a thing that Sniper is outclassed by. With Sniper, you just have no reason to use it. You want long range? Use Missile Trooper. Use Patrol Boat. Want a boss killer? Use Missile Trooper, or use Railgunner. Want a piercing tower? Use Shotgunner, or use Laser Gunner. Or better yet, just use a Splash Tower. Want to stealth reveal? Use Ghost, or Laser Gunner, or heck, just use one of the most common power-ups in the game, the Recon Drone. This guy just has no definable use. And with that, I think I've been yapping for quite a while now, so just to make sure that it's not just me shouting from the rooftops, let's do something different from a change. In order to prove that I'm not the only one going crazy mad over Sniper, I've invited some TDX content creators, as well as some ordinary players, to give their thoughts on Sniper. So without further ado, here's their takes on the situation.
So the first one I just kind of got is just kind of general. What do you think of Sniper?
Oh man, I think he doesn't fit in the game whatsoever right now in its current state. It is heavily outdated, and the changes that were made to it is not gonna hold up.
I think is like its worst aspect, like out of everything, like its damage, its range, like its little like passive abilities, whatever. Like, what do you think is like the most just bad aspect of Sniper?
I think it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, right? Like, you think of Sniper, you think of long range, slow fire rate, high damage, right? But it just doesn't do that. Yeah, it doesn't do enough damage, I don't think. I think its range is fine, but its damage is just not there. And I think they try to make up for it with the Pierce, but it's just not working.
With all that being said, would you consider like Sniper the worst tower in the game, or do you still think there's like stuff like, even below
yeah,
it?
definitely. I think Sniper is 100% without a doubt the worst tower in the game. Other towers have, you know, redeeming qualities where like their only bad thing is that, oh, they don't have hidden detection, you know, for example, Patrol Boat, but you can easily, you know, make up for that. But Sniper is just all around bad. I just can't see any. It's the worst tower.
How would you go about fixing him? Like, would you just give him like a stat buff, or would it be like a full, you know?
Well, there's two ways that come to my mind. It's either, you know, we completely rework it, or we try to make the Pierce work. I think something like a bouncing bullet, even, right, where it shoots one enemy, it goes through a bunch, it just goes back and forth. Something like in Balloon Tower Defense 6.
Yeah.
That can maybe help, you know, with its with the idea of being able to pierce, or for the other option where you just rework it. I think it should just be like a baby railgunner, where it has the long range, slow fire rate, but high damage, and I think that would help it fit somewhere. Because right now it just doesn't. Yeah.
What do you think of Sniper? And don't hold back.
He's terrible. All right. First of all, his value is some of the worst in the game. Like Laser Gunner is jealous of how bad his value is. Like, sorry, I have to sell both of my kidneys just to afford like 2 extra damage. Like, it's actually crazy how bad his value is. And second of all, like, his range when you first place him, he doesn't even feel like a sniper. He just feels like a guy with a little bit extra range. That's pretty much it. Like, his range is pretty yeah, his range is pretty pathetic for a guy with a sniper rifle. And yeah, his DPS, like, I get that he's like pierce based, but like the pierce really doesn't help him out that much, even if you use it like even if you use it like perfectly. Like, it's really not that good still.
And kind of going off of that, like, would you consider, like, what do you think is Sniper's like worst aspect? Like, do you think it's the pierce? Do you think it's like one of his like dumb?
I think it's just his value. Like, his value's terrible.
There's that one stupid upgrade, $1,250, and his damage goes from 12 to 24.
Yeah, it's honestly pathetic.
Yeah. Second question here. This one's kind of interesting. I'm curious to see what you think of this one. So, would you, with all that being said about what you said about Sniper, would you consider him to be the worst tower in the game? Or do you think there's like someone even below him?
I would say he's the worst tower in the game. I'm gonna be honest. There's some contenders, like normal mine layer, even though people in my comments of like the bad TDX towers video were actually trying to tell me, oh yeah, regular mine layer is good, even though he's not. He's so far from good. But yeah, there are some close contenders, but I do think he is the worst tower in the game.
How would you go about fixing him? Like, do you think it's just a buff he needs, or do you think he just needs like a full,
I think he just needs like a rework, because some of his mechanics just don't make sense for like a sniper. Like, he shouldn't be pierce based. Like, he just needs like a full on rework. Like, he should be like a early to mid game boss killer, like I said in my video. I think that's like what role he should have, and he just doesn't have that role. Like, just remove his pierce entirely, like he doesn't need it, and just make his DPS more focused on like single target. And also, like, Missile Trooper is more of a mid game boss killer than he is, which is pretty pathetic considering Missile Trooper is a splash damage tower.
What do you think of the Sniper tower?
The first word that comes to mind when I think of Sniper is definitely underwhelming. I think it's kind of in a rock and a hard place balance-wise, in this like weird way of like, it's half a DPS tower, half a support tower, and it kinda sucks at both. It's got range, but like I mentioned in my Salty Guide to TDX episode on it, it's completely lackluster in every other stat, and it's really just in a rough spot within the TDX meta, because every other tower in TDX right now, with a few other exceptions, is pretty viable. But Sniper is the one that I don't think anyone wants to use.
And on that front, like, what would you consider Sniper's worst aspect? Do you think it's like its damage, its pierce, its abilities? Like, what about it is like the most dire?
I think it's actually the econ of Sniper. I think Sniper's upgrades are very expensive for what you get. Like Zero, the second upgrade on bottom half is,
oh my goodness,
by far
I literally
the worst.
was talking about that.
It's like the something GCR bullet. It's, I think, just a damage increase for 1.2k. It's an insanely terrible upgrade. And it overall is just not great. I think the econ is really bad, because I think if Sniper is intended to be an early game tower, that can work, but it's not econ viable for early game right now. Right. I think also in that regard of like specific stats, I actually, if you've seen my interview with Nidzo, he showed me some footage of like the pre-release Sniper where he had like in like warship levels of range, because that's what John intended actually, is for Sniper to basically see the entire map. And I actually am, I disagree with John on a lot of things, but I very much agree with that statement. I think Sniper actually should be able to see the entire map, and I think Sniper should, I think like on maps like Danger Beach with like the giant cliffs, I think you should be able to put Sniper up on that to where Sniper, instead of, you know, using the stealth mechanic, because I think the stealth mechanic in TDX on towers is also kind of bad, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, it really is.
But I think with Sniper, you should be able to put it just really far off the map, to where, sure, the DPS isn't super great, but like, it's constant, basically. Like, you know, Warship sees the entire map, it's just a constant stream of damage. I think if Sniper actually also had that philosophy applied to it, it would be a lot better, because it's not going to be killed by many bosses except for ones with like super long range attacks, so, you know, Mark 4 and like Mark 2. But it's, you know, going to be like a stream of damage. I still think Sniper could do more damage, but yeah.
I guess that works. I guess that kind of goes for like, how would you go about fixing him? Do you think that Sniper is like actively like the worst tower in the game, or do you think there are other towers that are like even below him?
I know a lot of people like to say Cryo Ranger's worse than Sniper, and a lot of people like to say Patrol Boat is also in a very similar state. I actually don't get the Cryo Ranger hate, because I think Cryo is very good for early game and core modes. That being said, obviously those modes are about to get reworked, or at least Expert is, so Cryo Ranger's probably going to lose that niche. But Patrol Boat also gets a lot of flack. I think all Patrol Boat really needs is hidden detection on top path. Other than that, I think Patrol Boat's actually in a pretty good state. And it could use more health. I think Patrol Boat dies too easily. But I would probably have to say Sniper's the worst tower in the game, because even like Scarecrow, a tower that is literally useless with the exception of bait, I see get brought way more than Sniper ever is. I don't really see anyone bring Sniper, whether it's like, you know, TDX YouTubers, just TDX friends, or just like the general TDX population. Obviously, I don't speak for everyone, but that's what I've noticed in my time. And there's not many other towers in TDX that I would say are inherently terrible. Because, I mean, obviously you could point out like Ranger, but I mean, it's the starter tower. I don't expect Ranger to be the most jaw-dropping tower.
I mean, even then, Ranger out DPS's Sniper on both paths.
See, I didn't even actually know that. I knew Sniper had bad damage, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Sniper, yeah. I did a little research for the video. I guess I'll give you this little nugget of information. So Sniper is one of 3 towers in the game that does not cross 100 DPS. And the other 2 are the Ices, who are already good in their own kind of niche way.
That's insane. The Icy, like what? Like Cryo Ranger and Cryo Blaster?
Yeah. And Cryo Ranger actually does also, on top path, Cryo Ranger actually does also out DPS Sniper.
Yeah. So yeah, Sniper needs more damage too. Going back to that question you had about like what I would change. I'm gonna be so honest, it needs buffs in every direction, but I think especially going back to what I would do to fix it, I think honestly having it kind of be like Warship, where it can kind of constantly be peppering enemies with damage, I think is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I actually really like that idea. No one else has suggested that yet, but that's like an actually like really like unique and interesting idea.
Yeah, TDX developers, my DMs are open.
Alright, and then the last question, kind of interesting one. Do you think that Sniper deserves to be a level-locked tower? As it currently stands. As it currently stands,
pardon my French, hell the fuck no. It absolutely should not be a level-locked tower. I think because kind of what I was saying earlier with how Sniper should be kind of like how it's half util, half damage. I think if Sniper is reworked in either a way I described it or a way someone else describes it, I think there is potential for it to be be level locked. Because I mean, if you look at other level locked towers, like say Laser Gunner, they do bring a pretty good bit of util to the game. But right now, as it stands, absolutely not. Sniper is just a mess.
What do you think of Sniper?
Sniper, I mean, like, the thing about Sniper is, like, I feel like only noobs would use it, high-end players wouldn't. But, like, I'd say it's power creep to buy a railgunner.
I see.
You know,
Yeah.
because like, I mean, Sniper's in the dust. You know, like, I don't really like. I don't think Sniper is good, but like, if it got like a rework or I'd say like a buff or something, then probably yeah, I'd say it'd be pretty good.
I see. So like, would you? So with all that being said, would you consider Sniper to be like the worst tower in the game, or do you think that there are like things that are even worse than it is?
So the thing about Sniper is isn't it like below 2,000 like gold to get it?
He's level locked to level 15, and he's like 1,500 gold or something.
Yeah, so you know, like it's like it's like a tower for like beginner players, you know.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty good if you're going for intermediate or like I'd say like those like low game modes. I don't see it useful in like expert or like, you know, anything else. Just those low game modes. I'd say that that's the only good thing about Sniper. I'd say just bring it for the ability.
I see.
Yeah, you know,
at that point,
just bring it for its ability.
Yeah. And finally, how would you fix him? Like, would you like buff him, like rework him? Like, what do you think should change about him?
I'd say probably just like maybe buff the ability a little bit, just a little bit.
Which one? Like,
You know,
his
like
stealth
I'd
or
say
flare gun?
everything.
Oh, okay. Everything.
Yeah, like you know, I don't really care about like the damage it does or what it could do. I just care about the ability. Like I just bring it for its ability.
People don't know you. I'll introduce you. Sparrow is like a friend of mine. He's what I would consider about like the average like TDX player. He's got like good stuff. He doesn't have like the goldens. He's not like pro gamer minded. But it's good to get opinions from everyone. So without further ado, are you ready to begin?
Yes.
All right. So first off, kind of general question: what do you think of Sniper?
Doesn't really represent any sort of particular like purpose. Like has lack of identity. It doesn't really exist. Like even simple towers like Ranger, like yeah, it's really boring, simple, but it's a starter tower, so it kind of should be boring and simple as a way to introduce players into the game. Sniper, you unlock a level 15, so by that point you should have some experience with the game, so it makes sense to like start be a bit more experimental with towers. However, Sniper is probably the most simple and also easily one of the most like uninteresting towers. Like it doesn't really fit into any specific role.
Of everything that Sniper brings to the table, quote unquote, what do you think is like its worst aspect?
It's just like its upsides don't really mean much. It feels like a tower that scales best in simpler maps, where you know you probably already have a lot more freedom what you can bring because the maps are so much easier. For example, it's very good on high rise, but like it's high rise. Everything's good on high rise except for like fucking patrol boat because you literally can't place it down anywhere. If you play a map like Sword Out in the Heights, well, guess what? Everything is a line of sight everywhere. Cow Annoyance is line of sight everywhere. I mean, for full fairness, nothing really does well on Cow Annoyance aside for like barracks and artillery. It's like you're stuck in this situation where, yeah, there is a situation you want to use a sniper. The only situation is literally the easiest maps in the game, which is why you see people saying like, oh yeah, sniper can solo expert on high rise. Well, first of all, can this individual tower solo a mode? Not a very good metric, as you should consider the towers based on how well they perform in a loadout, because that's how you're going to use the towers. Second of all, it's not a bragging right to be a tower that can solo a mode on the easiest map in the game.
Do you consider Sniper to be the worst tower in the game, or do you think that there's things that are like even below it?
As a collective, probably yes. But as individual paths, I would say the top path mine layer is worse. And additionally, I think both Op and Ranger do suffer a similar lack of identity problem. Ranger, I guess, kind of makes sense, but Operator also just feels like a really generic tower that needs something else. But I think performance-wise, Operator does better, so that's why I think Sniper is slightly worse.
How would you go about fixing him? And I know you've been rubbing your hands together. You're ready for this one.
I've been rubbing my feet, actually, because my feet's on my leg, but, you know.
Pause.
Don't get any ideas. Top half Sniper is a lot more simple to fix, because I think it's more of a... Like, it's definitely... You can see the purpose of it, but it's kind of conflicting a purpose, a bit Laser Gunner, who's already a bit of a subpart tower. But I think what they should do is really lean into the whole pierce thing of it. Like, just make its pierce crazy. Like, like make it like do like archer level pierce or even more, like maybe it like hit like 10 enemies at once. You know, it could be really strong on like very niche maps like Scorched Passage, for example, which is a very straight line map. Where even and unlike like something like High Rise, which is a simple map, Scorched Patches is a hard map, so that should actually be pretty useful on path, which I think has a lot more potential because it's by far the burst defender of not having a purpose. Like, cool, you do fine damage at very long range, which is not very useful considering line of sight. And then you have
Flare gun.
a flare that in paper could be useful, however it's too short to be meaningful, because if you can deal with 8 seconds of hidden enemies, then I don't think it's really worth like using a flare. You can just use a tower and just get rid of them. Like by the time you have the flare, you should already have towers that can deal with hiddens anyway. So like even on the most like best case scenario, when mainly running patrol boat, you still was just better to run a tower that can just hit hiddens.
Yeah.
So I think it warrants a full rework. I have many ideas for how to rework it. My favorite one, and is the one I keep on, sharing and boasting about, is I think we should just rework it entirely, where the flare is more of like a, bugler style tower priority system, where it just prioritizes a specific enemy, also unstealth some stills. Like, the idea is that you can make them hit, like, say, an elite grenadier, so you can focus the elite grenadier so it doesn't summon anything.
Hey guys, so Pixel here is like a good friend of mine. I've known him for a few years. He's pretty good at TDX, I think. He has like every tower, and he's a silly guy with opinions. So I just thought I would get some like normal people opinions besides just the YouTuber ones. So we can just kind of get like, just an actual like general feeling of how people feel about Sniper. The general one, what do you think of Sniper?
So Sniper, I'm not really sure what to really think of this tower. I mean, not only was it like one of the few towers that I feel like I unlocked once and then just never used, but also because I think I may or may not have accidentally grinded myself to the level that you get laser gunner at and decided to go for that instead. So I don't really know what to say about Sniper realistically. I mean, to be fair, I don't think there's really anything that Sniper has going for itself. I mean, the Pierce is nice on most levels, but I mean, once again, Laser Gunner also has Pierce, and while it's true that Laser Gunner is a lot more expensive than Sniper, especially on his max levels, I don't know. It's strange in a way. I can't really describe, because all the range for Sniper is traded for instead damage, and its damage is just kind of way better for that. And also, I'm pretty sure both the Sniper's paths all just kind of feature range. But again, I don't really know what to think about Sniper as the 2 times I used them.
Would you consider Sniper to be the worst tower in the game? Or do you think there are towers that are way worse than it?
Well, look at it. Well, Mine Layer sitting right there in the corner. Then maybe he settles for second place.
Yeah, Poop Layer. Stinky.
I love Poop Layer, guys. Oh my god, I'm his biggest fan. I totally don't hate him so much that I had to rant about him twice.
Do you think that Sniper deserves to be a level-locked tower in its current state?
Its current state? Not really. To be fair. Oh well, I mean, it is Baby's first level lock tower, so I see why it's kind of a cheap way to have a little bit of crowd control and also have high damage, but other than that, it doesn't really have a lot going for it. Other than the flare gun ability that you can may or may not chain, which is really funny.
Flare gun chaining, just like Cold Arms. And then the final question here, what would you change about this tower? Would you buff it? Would you completely rework it? How would you improve Sniper?
Now, this is a very difficult question because there's not a lot to really think about when using Sniper. Instead of having just range for both paths, why can't one of them instead just exchange for fire rate or more damage or possibly more pierce, considering that Sniper doesn't really shoot that fast on its top pad. Or maybe give it aim time or something, along with having more pierce. I don't know. There's just a little bit to consider about Sniper, and I don't really have, in general, any creative ideas on how you would rework Sniper, at least in the current moment.
Yeah, maybe that's... Who knows, maybe that's just the reason why it just hasn't been touched. Like, maybe John just genuinely is at a loss.
So yeah, in conclusion, Sniper bad. John, you claim that there is no power creep in TDX, and I largely agree with you. But amidst all the good balancing decisions you made, you've allowed one tower to slip through the cracks. You let Sniper become the one tower in TDX that is power crept by everyone. You made this mess. Now, you're being given the opportunity to fix it, and I feel like your community would definitely enjoy it. So, with that, that's all I really got. So, if you enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't, and with that, goodbye.
Are you being intentionally dense?
You have to answer me right now. Why is a picture of my torso in the chat?